Cool. So we just talked about double tapping as a big thing to increase your reach percentage. And something John Tevis just said was when you double tap, it's easy to think that, oh, people are going to be pissed off or angry, but they're actually not. And it's much easier to schedule because they're like, oh, yeah, it's you. Following up at the end of part 1 of our big phone jam. By the way, when we do this during SC2, it's a 3-part or a 3-day, right, phone jam. We call it the 3-prong phone. I used to call it attack, but we'll find a nicer word for that this year. Either way, right? But this time we're doing 2 days of it. In SC2, we do 3 days of it. But there's a couple things that I've learned from doing these over the years that I think would help set you guys up for success tomorrow. So if you just want to, you don't need to take a lot of notes necessarily, but there's a couple of things that you probably want to just jot down so you don't forget about when you get home. All right, just FYI, I feel like you guys all trudged back to go get notes. It's not a meeting, it's not a workshop. I just want to give you a couple ideas that I've experienced that'll help set you up for tomorrow. Number 1, I will say very openly that the call volume today was very low. And truthfully, the reason I check in hour by hour is so that if there's an issue with the call volume, it gets corrected very quickly. I don't know if this is partly because we had a couple people that were planned texting because of the events team, and then some other people following their suit without being on the events team or what. But I did the math. If you were here from 10 to 8, that's 10 hours total, right? Now we gave you a 1-hour break in the middle, so that should have been 9 hours of calling. For me personally, when I'm hustling, but actually doing a good job of booking about 3+ appointments per hour, I can typically make about 33 dials per hour consistently and book 3 appointments, including all the talk time that takes. But if we're just making 20 to 30 dials, that should have been 180 to 270 calls on the day, right? So if we're under 180, we were below average, right? So again, if you were texting and that was part of your plan, that may not be relevant to you, but for everybody dialing, 180 to 270 dials would have been on pace, right? So that's one thing just coming in tomorrow, just to make sure we're really focused that less than 20 dials in an hour just isn't acceptable if you're calling, right? Number 2 is one thing I found is that when you make as many calls as you did today, a lot of times you start to feel like your list is burned. Okay, so there's 2 things I want to put in front of you. Number 1 is that if they didn't answer the phone, they are fresh, right? You may know you've called them, but they may not even know that you've called them before. By the way, if it's a referral you got over the summer, they may not even know that they were referred over the summer. You know, so a lot of times as reps, we tell ourselves the story that, oh, they got recommended to them so long ago, but they may not even know they were recommended, right? They may be just as fresh today as they were 6 months ago because they had no idea, you know? So that's one, is just be aware that your people that didn't answer today, you can call them. Another fun trick, I'll try to remember to cover this again tomorrow, but a fun trick you can do, if you go through your entire call list, you can switch phones with someone, right? And then you're calling them from a different phone number. They have no idea, you know? And then I know, John, you've done that very effectively in the past. I call it the magic phone, when you just literally use a different phone number and call the same people. It's great. It's the greatest form of stealth. And then the only other thing I would say, I know that tonight you guys are tired. You should absolutely get some food and rest up and all the things. But at the same time, it might be worth your time to try to get some more numbers, or at least diversify your list. I know, not to pick on you, but part of the reason that you struggled tonight is that all of your people came from one source. And if that one source wasn't working, you didn't have another source to be able to switch over to. So if you spent all of your time calling neighborhood people tonight, tomorrow you might want to look at high school directory or yearbook or family friends or Christmas card list, right? And you may need to work on getting a couple more names on your list. So if you booked 6, 9, 8, 13 appointments tonight, you might need to look at getting a couple more names on your list just to replenish the coffers from what was used up today. Does that make sense? So I'm not telling you to go home and keep working all the way into the wee hours of the night, but maybe a little bit tonight, maybe a little bit tomorrow, you know, without running yourselves ragged, may be a good use of your time to make tomorrow easier.
So maybe you want to arrive like an hour early if you feel like your call list isn't set up properly. Come in at 9, do that hour to either add fresh numbers, organize it in a way so you can make an effective number of calls. That would be my recommendation, so you can rest up tonight, but not have to like go all the way through the wee hours and get tired. Just come an hour early.
Yeah. By the way, John, just for perspective, a little different from years past, but it was like sleep is for broke people, just work.
Right.
I'm trying to be a good human on this one, but also make sure that you guys are just set up to make it as, it's never going to be easy. If it were, it wouldn't pay very well. But to make it easier and more effective on you. That said, for Kayla or for John, you guys who have been through this before, any other tips that you would give the rookies to help set them up before we call tonight?
I had a thought when John was talking, but I lost my thought.
Every time.
Yeah. Don't let today's performance discourage you or fill your head for tomorrow's performance.
#nothing.
Right. You're at 0 starting for tomorrow, right? So the best thing you can do for it is get rest and get ready for it. Even if you go in, you're not feeling confident with either the source of your leads or the amount of them that you have. Even so, you still want to give your best to it. However, even still, going into the last day, it doesn't define your push, right? Sometimes it's just booking those 1, 2, 3 gold mines and then maximizing what you get. Now, those gold mines, those nuggets, you still have to dig for it, though, right? You have to dig through all of the calls. So even if you don't end up booking a ton tomorrow, but you made the dials, they will be worth it.
Cool. It's awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Okay, I remember.
Nice.
Oh, write out your list instead of, I'm sorry, Nick.
Yeah.
Like, your list shouldn't be in your phone. Like, have it organized in, like, your computer or, I'm so sorry. Or on a piece of paper.
Because that call,
yeah, because you can call faster like that rather than looking through your phone.
You probably could have been like 375 calls. Great. Probably could have landed like a few.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're recording, so if it's not relevant for the recording, hold it, please.
It's Kevin.
He'll be all right. He's not even here, so
Yeah, that's really cool.
that's fine. He's not relevant right now, as much as I love him. Cool. Well, hey, that said, I wanted to make sure to record this specifically so that anybody who is doing these in the future, we have just good reference, and also for you guys when you're managers next summer, you'll have access to these recordings to be able to share with your peeps. So that's it. I'm going to end the recording here.